This is unacceptable. I ordered an oat milk latte, not whatever this is.
I'm so sorry, sir. Let me remake that for you right away.
You know what your problem is? You guys can't even get a simple coffee order right. This is why you're stuck making minimum wage. No attention to detail, no work ethic.
Blake Donovan thought the coffee shop was beneath him. When he saw Kendra Williams behind the counter in a green apron, he didn't see the daughter of the man who owned the entire shopping center. He saw a black barista he could talk down to. He berated her, insulted her intelligence, and threatened to have the cafe shut down while other customers watched in silence. He had no idea that the young woman remaking his drink was about to sit in on the lease renewal meeting that afternoon, or that her father had already heard complaints about Blake's behavior from 3 other tenants, or that the cafe owner was 2 months behind on rent and looking for any reason to break the lease without penalty. What you just saw was racism disguised as customer service standards. A man weaponizing his perceived status against someone he assumed had no power, measuring her worth by the color of her skin and the apron around her waist. You saw the confrontation. Now we're going to tell you the full story, take you inside Ashford Commons from the moment both of them arrived that Thursday morning, and reveal what happened when Blake Donovan realized the barista he just humiliated had more power over his future than he ever imagined. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Let's go back to 7:45 that Thursday morning in Austin, Texas. Ashford Commons sits on a prime corner lot in the Domain area, a 3-story mixed-use development with retail on the ground floor, creative office space on the second and third. The building went up in 2021, all glass and steel and exposed brick, the kind of place that attracts organic juice bars and boutique fitness studios and tech startups that want to look innovative. 19 commercial tenants, 12,000 square feet of leasable space, and a waiting list of businesses that want in. Raymond Williams is 62 years old, and he built this plaza with his own vision and his own capital. He grew up in East Austin, the son of a construction worker and a school teacher, watched his neighborhood gentrify around him, watched property values explode, watched longtime residents get priced out. Raymond made his money in commercial real estate, buying undervalued properties in the 2000s and holding them while the city grew. He sold half his portfolio in 2018 and used the proceeds to develop Ashford Commons, made a deliberate choice to keep rents reasonable, to prioritize local businesses over national chains, to build something that served the community instead of just extracting wealth from it. Raymond has one daughter. Kendra Williams is 28 years old, graduated from Spelman College with a degree in business administration, spent 3 years working at a commercial property management firm in Atlanta, and moved back to Austin 8 months ago to help her father manage his properties. She's smart, observant, and deeply aware of how people treat service workers because she's spent the last 8 months working shifts at different tenant locations, understanding the businesses from the inside, learning what works and what doesn't. Every Thursday, Raymond and Kendra review lease renewals together. They look at payment history, tenant relations, customer complaints, and whether a business aligns with the plaza's values. This morning, they have 4 renewals to discuss. One of them is Morning Ritual, a small cafe owned by Elena Morrison, a single mother who's struggling to keep up with rising supply costs and increased competition from a Starbucks that opened 3 blocks away. But before that meeting, Kendra has a 4-hour shift at Morning Ritual. She does this once a week, shows up in a staff apron, makes drinks, clears tables, listens to customers. Elena knows who she is. The other staff members know who she is, but the customers don't, and that's the point. Kendra wants to see how people behave when they think nobody's watching who matters. On this particular Thursday, Kendra arrives at Morning Ritual at 7:30 a.m. wearing jeans, a white t-shirt, and her natural hair in box braids. She ties on the green apron, washes her hands, and takes her place behind the espresso machine. The morning rush starts at 7:45, a steady stream of commuters grabbing coffee before heading to their offices upstairs or down the street. Blake Donovan is 39 years old and a venture capital partner at Frontier Capital Partners, a mid-sized firm that manages about $300 million in tech startup investments. His official title is Senior Investment Partner, which sounds impressive until you realize there are 5 other senior partners, and Blake is the most junior of them. Blake has been with Frontier for 4 years, long enough to feel important, long enough to develop the kind of aggressive confidence that comes from having money to deploy and founders who need it. He arrived in Austin 6 years ago from Seattle, following the migration of tech workers seeking lower taxes and looser regulations, and he's never quite shaken the attitude that Austin is somehow not quite sophisticated enough, not quite serious enough about business. Blake lives in a domain condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the hill country. He pays $3,800 a month in rent. He drives a Tesla Model X. He wears Lululemon and Arc'teryx jackets and expensive minimalist watches. He looks exactly like what he is, a man who works in tech and wants everyone to know it. Every morning, Blake stops at Morning Ritual for a coffee before heading upstairs to his office on the second floor. Frontier Capital Partners leases 2,500 square feet in Ashford Commons, a 5-year lease that's up for renewal in 45 days. Blake isn't involved in the lease negotiations. That's handled by the firm's operations manager, but he considers himself the public face of Frontier in the building. He's loud, he's opinionated, and he has a habit of treating service workers like they're part of the furniture. This morning, Blake is already irritated. He had a pitch meeting with a promising fintech startup yesterday, and the founder went with a competitor firm. His Tesla has a charging issue that's making it take twice as long to reach full battery. His girlfriend is upset about something he can't quite remember. And now it's 8 o'clock and he's standing in line at Morning Ritual behind 7 other people, watching the minutes tick away on his Apple Watch. When Blake finally reaches the counter, Kendra greets him with a professional smile. "Good morning. What can I get for you?" Blake doesn't look up from his phone. Oat milk latte, extra hot, double shot. Kendra inputs the order, repeats it back to confirm. 1 oat milk latte, extra hot, double shot. Anything else? Blake waves her off dismissively, already moving toward the pickup counter. Kendra makes the drink exactly as ordered, calls his name, sets it on the counter. Blake grabs it without acknowledgement, takes a sip, and his face immediately twists into an expression of disgust. He walks back to the counter, cutting in front of the next customer, and slams the cup down hard enough that coffee sloshes over the rim onto the polished concrete. "This is unacceptable. I ordered an oat milk latte, not whatever this is." Kendra looks at the cup, looks at the order ticket still attached. "Sir, that is an oat milk latte, extra hot, double shot, exactly as you ordered." Blake's voice gets louder, performative, playing to the audience of other customers waiting for their drinks. "Well, it tastes wrong. It's not hot enough. And I can tell you used regular milk, not oat milk." Kendra keeps her voice steady, professional, even though she can feel every eye in the cafe turning toward this interaction. "Sir, I promise you I used oat milk. I can remake it for you if you'd like, but I did make it exactly to your specifications." Blake leans across the counter, and when he speaks, his voice drips with condescension, with barely concealed contempt. "You know what your problem is? You people can't even get a simple coffee order right. This is why you're stuck making minimum wage. No attention to detail, no work ethic." The cafe goes silent. "You people." Those two words hanging in the air like a slap, like exactly what they are. A racial statement wrapped in the thinnest veneer of workplace criticism. Kendra doesn't flinch. Her face remains perfectly neutral, perfectly professional, giving Blake nothing to grab onto, no excuse to escalate further. "I apologize that the drink doesn't meet your expectations, sir. I'm happy to remake it. Would you like to watch me make it to ensure it's correct this time?" Blake straightens up, satisfied that he's made his point, that he's put this barista in her place. "Yeah, I would. And maybe this time you can actually pay attention to what you're doing instead of just going through the motions." Kendra makes a fresh latte. She does it slowly, deliberately, narrating each step for Blake's benefit while he stands there with his arms crossed, watching like a supervisor monitoring a probationary employee. She steams the oat milk to exactly 185 degrees, pulls a perfect double shot, combines them with the precise ratio, tops it with a delicate layer of foam. She hands him the cup. Blake takes it, sips it, and for just a second, there's a flicker of recognition that this is exactly what he ordered, that there was nothing wrong with the first drink. But he's too committed now, too invested in being right, in maintaining his position of superiority. "It's fine," he says, like he's doing her a favor by accepting it. "But you should really work on your consistency. Maybe pay more attention in training." He turns to leave, then stops, turns back, delivers his final blow loud enough for everyone in the cafe to hear. "You know, I have connections with the property management for this plaza. I could probably get this place shut down if I wanted to. So maybe next time, show a little more professionalism." Kendra watches him walk out the door, watches him climb into his Tesla parked in the premium spot right in front. She unties her apron, washes her hands, and heads upstairs to her father's office. It's 8:20 a.m. The lease renewal meeting is at 1 o'clock. Do you think commercial property owners should have policies allowing them to terminate leases of tenants whose employees harass other tenants or service workers in the building? Drop your answer below. Raymond Williams sits in his office on the 3rd floor reviewing the quarterly financials when Kendra walks in. He looks up, sees something in her face, and sets down his reading glasses. What happened? Kendra sits down across from him and tells him about Blake Donovan, keeps her tone even, factual, doesn't embellish. Raymond listens without interrupting, his jaw getting tighter with each sentence. When she finishes, he leans back in his chair and lets out a long breath. This is the 4th complaint I've had about someone from Frontier this quarter, he says. Not Blake specifically, but employees from that firm. 3 other tenants have mentioned incidents, aggressive behavior, entitlement, treating retail staff poorly. Kendra nods. I know Elena is struggling. The Starbucks is killing her foot traffic. She's 2 months behind on rent. If we don't renew her lease, she'll have to close down. But Blake just threatened to get her shut down. He thinks he has power here. Raymond picks up his phone, scrolls through his contacts, places a call. It rings 3 times before someone answers. Elena, it's Raymond Williams. I need you to come up to my office. Yes, now. Bring any documentation you have of complaints about customers. I'll explain when you get here. 12 minutes later, Elena Morrison sits in Raymond's office looking nervous. She's 41 years old, a single mother of 3, opened morning ritual 5 years ago with a small business loan and every dollar of savings she had. The cafe is her life's work, her dream, and is dying slowly under the weight of corporate competition and rising costs. Raymond explains what happened this morning. Elena's face goes pale. Mr. Williams, I'm so sorry. If that customer was upset, I can comp his drinks. Raymond holds up his hand. Elena, stop. You didn't do anything wrong. Your employee, my daughter, didn't do anything wrong. The customer was out of line. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Elena looks confused. I don't understand. Do about what? Raymond leans forward, and there's something in his voice now, something protective, something that sounds like justice. Blake Donovan works for Frontier Capital Partners. They lease space in this building. Their lease is up for renewal in 45 days. I've had 4 separate complaints about their employees this quarter. They're creating a hostile environment for other tenants. That violates the terms of their lease, specifically the clause about maintaining professional conduct in common areas. Elena's eyes widen. You're going to not renew their lease? Raymond looks at Kendra, then back at Elena. I'm considering it, but I need to document everything. I need statements from you about any incidents involving their employees. I need to review the security footage from this morning, and then I need to have a conversation with their managing partner. Elena hesitates, and you can see the calculation happening in her mind. She needs this building. She needs Raymond Williams' goodwill. Speaking up against a tenant, especially one that probably pays 6 times her rent, feels dangerous. But she's also a mother, a business owner, a woman who's watched her dreams slowly suffocate under the weight of impossible economics and customer entitlement. I have a complaint log, she says quietly. I started keeping one 3 months ago. 18 incidents. 12 of them involve people from Frontier. Rude comments to staff, refusing to clean up after themselves, using our bathroom facilities like it's their private office. One guy set up his laptop at a 2-person table for 6 hours, bought 1 small coffee, and got angry when we asked him to free up the space during lunch rush. Raymond nods. Get me that log, and I need you at the 1 o'clock meeting. I want you there when I talk to Frontier's operations manager. At 12:55 p.m., Raymond Williams sits at the conference table in his office with Kendra on his right and Elena Morrison on his left. The security footage from Morning Ritual's interior camera is queued up on his laptop. At exactly 1 o'clock, there's a knock on the door. Raymond's assistant opens it, and Marcus Chen walks in. Marcus Chen is the operations manager for Frontier Capital Partners, a competent administrator who handles lease negotiations, office supplies, vendor management, and the 1,000 small details that keep a venture capital firm running. He's 47 years old, organized, professional, and he already knows this meeting isn't going to be routine because Raymond asked him to come prepared to discuss behavioral concerns related to lease compliance. Marcus sits down, sets a folder on the table. Raymond doesn't waste time with pleasantries. Marcus, I appreciate you taking the time. I want to discuss your firm's lease renewal, but first we need to address some concerns about your employees' conduct in the building. Raymond turns his laptop around so Marcus can see the screen. He plays the security footage from this morning. The video has no sound, but you can see everything. Blake approaching the counter, the aggressive body language, the cup slamming down, the finger pointing, the other customers backing away, Kendra's composed response, Blake leaning across the counter, The entire interaction played out in silent film that somehow makes it more damning, more stark. When the video ends, Raymond speaks, his voice measured and firm. "That's your senior investment partner, Blake Donovan, verbally abusing my daughter. She was working a shift at Morning Ritual this morning. He called her, 'you people,' questioned her work ethic, threatened to have the cafe shut down, and made assumptions about her competence based on the apron she was wearing." Marcus's face goes from confusion to horror to anger in about 4 seconds. He knows exactly what this means. He knows what "you people" means coming from a white man to a black woman. He knows the implications, the liability, the exposure. "Mr. Williams, I am so sorry. That behavior is completely unacceptable and does not reflect the values of our firm." "I had no idea." Raymond cuts him off. "Marcus, this isn't an isolated incident. I have documented complaints from 3 other tenants about Frontier employees. Elena here has a log of 18 separate incidents over the past 3 months, 12 involving your staff. Your people are treating this building like it's their private domain and the service workers like they're invisible." Marcus looks at Elena, back at Raymond, and you can see him doing the math. The firm's lease is $37,000 per month. Relocating would cost hundreds of thousands in moving expenses, lost productivity, broken commitments. And beyond the financials, there's the reputational damage. A venture capital firm getting kicked out of a building for employee misconduct would spread through Austin's tight-knit tech community in about 18 hours. "Mr. Williams," Marcus says carefully, "I need to handle this immediately. Blake's behavior was inexcusable. I'll be addressing it through our internal HR process. But I hope this doesn't impact our lease renewal. Frontier values our relationship with you," and Raymond leans back in his chair and there's a long silence. When he speaks, his voice is cold, final. "Marcus, here's what's going to happen. I'm giving you 25 days to terminate Blake Donovan's employment. I want written confirmation that he's no longer with the firm. I also want a written policy from Frontier about professional conduct in shared building spaces, and I want every employee to sign acknowledgement that they've read and understood it. I want a formal apology from your managing partners to both Elena and my daughter. And I want you to cover Elena's rent for the next 3 months as compensation for the hostile environment your employees have created for her business." Marcus opens his mouth to negotiate, then closes it. He knows there's no negotiation here. Raymond Williams holds all the cards. Marcus nods slowly. "I'll make it happen. I'll have the termination confirmation to you within 2 weeks, the policy within 25 days, and the apology letters by end of week. Should service workers who experience racial harassment from commercial tenants have the right to request those tenants' removal from the property? Let me know what you think." Blake Donovan doesn't know about the meeting. He doesn't know about the security footage or the complaint log or the ultimatum. He spends the afternoon in back-to-back calls, feeling good about himself, feeling powerful. He put that barista in her place. He established dominance. He maintained standards. At 4:15 p.m., Marcus Chen asks him to come to the conference room. Blake walks in expecting a routine check-in and instead finds Marcus sitting with Jennifer Park, Frontier's managing partner, and an HR representative he's never met before. The mood in the room is wrong. Blake's stomach drops. The conversation lasts 13 minutes. Blake is informed that his behavior this morning violated the firm's code of conduct, created legal liability, and endangered a critical business relationship. He's given 2 options: resign immediately with 2 months severance, or be terminated for cause with nothing. Blake tries to explain, tries to justify, tries to make them see that he was just demanding proper service, but Jennifer Park cuts him off with a look that could freeze fire. "Your choice, Blake. Resign or be terminated. You have 60 seconds. Blake resigns. He clears his desk, hands over his building access card, and walks out of Ashford Commons at 5:32 p.m. His Tesla is still in the premium parking spot. He sits in the driver's seat for 7 full minutes, staring at the Morning Ritual storefront, trying to understand how a simple complaint about coffee destroyed his career. The next morning, Elena Morrison receives an email from Marcus Chen confirming that Frontier will cover 3 months of her rent, a total of $11,100. The email includes a formal apology from the firm's 4 managing partners, acknowledging that their employees' behavior created an unacceptable environment and expressing their commitment to doing better. Kendra Williams goes back to work at Morning Ritual the following Thursday. She makes lattes, takes orders, clears tables. Different customers come and go, some polite, some rushed, some demanding. But none of them know who she is. None of them know that she's watching, learning, documenting. None of them know that their behavior matters, that it's being seen. that consequences exist even when you think nobody's watching who has power. Raymond Williams renews Elena's lease at her current rate for another 4 years. He renews Frontier Capital Partners' lease with new terms that include specific behavioral standards and an accelerated termination clause if violations occur. Blake Donovan's termination becomes known throughout Austin's tech community within a week. When recruiters call his former colleagues for references, they get careful non-answers that tell you everything you need to know. Blake's LinkedIn profile says he's exploring new opportunities in venture capital and startup advisory. He sends out dozens of applications. He takes meetings with firms in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, but Austin is a small city and tech is a small world. And the story of what he did, how he spoke to that barista, how it cost him his job, travels faster than any resume. 4 months later, Blake takes a position at a smaller firm in Nashville, a significant step down in prestige and compensation. He tells himself it's a fresh start, a chance to rebuild. But late at night, he thinks about that morning, about the coffee cup on the counter, about the words that came out of his mouth with such casual cruelty. You people. He tells himself he didn't mean it that way, that it was taken out of context, that he was just frustrated. But he knows the truth. He knows exactly what those words meant. He knows exactly what he was doing when he said them. The story spreads through Ashford Commons quickly. The baristas tell the boutique owners. The boutique owners tell the fitness instructors. The fitness instructors tell everyone who takes their classes. And the story becomes a reminder, a warning, a line drawn in the sand. This is a building where people are treated with respect. This is a building where service work is valued. This is a building where you don't get to judge someone's worth by their uniform or their skin color or the job they're doing at the moment you encounter them. Morning ritual survives. The rent relief gives Elena breathing room to redesign her menu, to invest in better marketing, to build a loyal customer base that values what makes her cafe different from the corporate chain 3 blocks away. She hires 3 additional staff members. She starts turning a profit. She sends her oldest son to summer coding camp that year, something that would have been impossible 8 months ago. Kendra Williams continues working shifts at different tenant locations, continues observing, continues learning. She sees how people behave when they think nobody's watching. She sees kindness and cruelty in equal measure. She documents it all, builds a database of which businesses create positive environments and which ones extract value while giving nothing back. Her father trusts her judgment completely. When she recommends against renewing a lease, he listens. When she advocates for a struggling tenant, he listens. Together, they're building something that's more than just profitable real estate. They're building a community that operates on principles of mutual respect and shared humanity. This is the lesson Raymond taught Kendra from childhood, the lesson she carries with her every single day. You never know who you're talking to. You never know whose daughter is behind the counter, whose building you're standing in, whose goodwill you're going to need someday. So you treat everyone with dignity, not because they've proven they deserve it by revealing their credentials, not because they look like they have power, but because dignity is the baseline, the floor, the absolute minimum standard for human interaction. Anything less is a gamble. And Blake Donovan lost that gamble the moment he decided Kendra Williams wasn't worth his basic courtesy. Ashford Commons still sits on that corner in the Domain. The coffee shop still opens at 7 every morning, still serves lattes to commuters heading to work. And Kendra Williams still ties on that green apron once a week, still makes drinks and clears tables and watches how people behave when they think nobody important is watching. Because Kendra knows something Blake Donovan learned too late. Everyone is important, everyone deserves respect, and the way you treat people when you think it doesn't matter is actually when it matters most. Your character isn't revealed in conference rooms and investor pitches. It's revealed in coffee shops and grocery stores and parking lots, in the small interactions you think nobody will remember, in the split-second decisions you make about who deserves your courtesy. Blake Donovan thought he was just correcting bad service. He was actually ending his career. He thought he was dealing with someone powerless. He was actually insulting the daughter of the one person who could take everything away. And the security camera captured every second, every gesture, every word. Because these moments don't disappear. They're recorded. They're remembered. They have consequences. Comment below if you think employees who racially harass service workers should face immediate termination regardless of their position or value to the company. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, if you think accountability matters and every person deserves basic human dignity regardless of the apron they're wearing or the color of their skin, then hit that subscribe button, because we're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding better. We're going to keep fighting for a world where your worth isn't measured by your job title or your appearance. This isn't just about Blake Donovan or Kendra Williams. It's about all of us and the racism we're willing to tolerate.